Hey friends, welcome back. This is Ashley with Uncommon Roots Homestead. I've got my first pumpkin spice latte from Dunkin' Donuts, which we don't do very often. You guys know I love my coffee at home, but sometimes 'tis the season. And it might be the last week of August and already 85 degrees at 8 a.m., but I'm enjoying my hot pumpkin spice latte and I want to walk you guys through the garden. So, welcome to another garden tour. We are in East Tennessee, Zone 7A. It's the last couple days of August right now. So let's do a late August tour. So I know I've been saying this for a couple of weeks, but it is definitely transition time in the garden. One thing that's been consistent, my naked arch. And now it's almost a joke. Somebody actually commented on one of my videos and said, maybe you should just leave it naked forever because it's kind of your thing. And as fun as that would be, I really want to see something beautiful growing up this. So I've gone through a couple of ideas. I guess front runner right now is to put a passion fruit vine on it. You guys know this passion vine exploded this year and looked really great. It actually fell down, so it's not looking as great right now. But passion vines grow really well in like partial shade, and they fruit and they have beautiful flowers. So they kind of like check all the boxes I'm looking for. I also looked into some like vining, like other vining flowers. You guys know I tried the roses and I don't get enough sun for roses there. I did try a passion vine, but I didn't like transplant it very well. So we'll see. I'm gonna do some research this fall on like what else, like what other options I have. Somebody said grapes, but I think with the amount of sun that we get, if I put a grapevine there, I think it'll grow and it'll give me beautiful foliage, but I don't think I get enough sun to actually like produce fruit. So I either want like really beautiful flowers or some kind of fruit. And that's kind of why a passion vine is like a front runner, because it gives me both, right? Like I get those really cool, unique flowers, but then also it'll give me some fruit. So I'm still leaning towards that. I could be persuaded to do something differently. I actually wondered if maybe like raspberries would grow on it. They vine, but not as well. So I think I would have to like actually help them along, but that's an option too. So still a naked trellis, but to be determined. We are going to find something for the 2022 garden that will grow and be beautiful there. I promise we will have something there. It was maybe a bad decision to start a garden tour when I wanted to drink my coffee. It's one of those things that like you always see everyone on Instagram or YouTube or whatever, they always like have their cup of coffee in their hand as they're doing something, and I fall victim to that. I do it all the time. And what's hilarious is that when you're doing that, you actually don't drink your coffee at all. So 90% of the time, if I'm walking around in a video with a coffee or I'm like on Instagram with a coffee, my coffee goes cold and I have to remake it because I'm sitting here talking and not actually drinking my coffee. So there's that. So these dahlias actually were stunted because of the tomatoes that were next to them. And now that I've gotten the tomatoes out, they're starting to grow. I don't see any buds, but they are looking good. And I'm glad that they're getting established because I'm gonna pull those tubers up to split them next year. So the theme of the late August garden is definitely like new life here, because we've pulled out a lot of the dead and dying crops, like all of those heirloom tomatoes that I had. They were pretty much at their end, and so I went ahead and pulled all of those out. Some of these beds I've just prepared for winter, so we put a little bit of new compost and then we heavily mulched them so that they're kind of good to go through the winter. I'm not going to be planting a lot of these beds with the tomato trellises I'm not planting in the fall. Not really for any particular reason. I just don't need a huge fall garden, so it makes sense for me to just heavily mulch and kind of let this soil rest. In the spring, I probably will amend them, but not very heavily. I'll just add a little bit of new compost on top. I might do a soil test and just make sure all the levels look good, but mostly we're just letting this space be. So I did plant the 2 arch trellises, the 6x3 beds in front of them. You guys came with me. We planted those for fall. I did a lot of root vegetables like beets and radishes. I didn't do any turnips this year because we don't really like turnips. I did a couple kohlrabi. I did a bunch of kale to do as baby kale, and then I planted this 6x3 bed over here with all of my lettuce. I did some mustard greens. You guys gave me really great ideas in that video of how to use the mustard greens, because I've planted them more than once and like never used them. We don't eat them because I don't really know how to cook them, but you guys gave me some great ideas, so thank you for those. I'm going to be trying them. The only thing I have not gotten in the ground that I need to for the fall garden is my spinach. And I'm considering giving a whole bed to spinach. So we love spinach. We'll eat it fresh in salads. We will put it in juice and smoothies. And I just saw TikTok. Anybody on TikTok? I'm actually not on TikTok, but on Instagram, I saw somebody was sharing a TikTok recipe where you use spinach and flour and cheese. I think that was it, maybe olive oil, and basically blend those all together and make like a faux pasta with spinach, and it looked amazing. So we want to try that too. So I'm thinking about just doing a whole bed of spinach. It grows really well in the winter. It's pretty low maintenance. There aren't a lot of pests in our area for it. So I'm thinking about giving it a whole 6x3 space. We can cut it and freeze it. You can blanch it, like boil it and freeze it. There's just so many options. So I'm thinking about doing a whole bed for spinach, and it's not one of those crops that'll take up space in the spring too. If I put it in the ground right here, we'll basically eat on it until it gets too cold. So spinach is hardy, but it's not gonna like grow in the dead of winter here. So I'll probably be able to eat off spinach until like maybe early December. If we have a mild early winter, maybe into January, but it doesn't really get too cold here until like late December, January, unless it's last year where we got a bunch of snow on Christmas, which was amazing, and I wouldn't mind that, though we'll be moving, so I don't know. This bed still needs to be taken care of. These tomatoes are done, and we took out the support, so they're just laid over now, and they're just waiting to be pulled up. So this is next on our list. Here is the first of those fall beds. You can see I'm having great germination. So it probably goes without saying, but you should really mark your beds, even in your fall beds, because even though I made a video and I told you exactly what was going in these beds, if you remember when I was planting these 2 trellis beds, the audio on my camera wasn't working. So I have no idea what I was actually saying to you, and I have no idea what I planted where. And a lot of fall vegetables that you plant are in the brassica family, which means all of the little seedlings look exactly the same. So I can't remember which side I did like the kale on and which side I did radishes. I have no idea. So I don't know which I should thin and which I should just let go. It's like a fun game, but also not. So don't recommend. Definitely mark what you're planting. And also, I'm going to show you in just a second, but I am seeing some of those weeds that Kevin and I spent all that time pulling out coming back. So what we're going to do for the fall garden, stay on top of those. We are not going to let those go like we did in some of the summer garden. So I'm actually going to spend some time right now and pull up the weeds out of this bed. Alright, so I wanted to show you guys this because remember I was talking about how mulching lightly won't hurt your seedlings coming up. See how these are all germinating really well and popping up? They're popping right through that mulch. So that's exactly what we wanted to see. Now again, I didn't mark where I put stuff. I think that this is the mustard. Let me see. That might be kale. Usually we can, so these would be microgreens, so you can actually eat these like I just did to kind of taste what they are. It might be mustard actually. To be determined. So as per usual, half of the garden is neat and orderly and ready for resting in the winter, and then the other half is just still a little bit wild. We are very soon, like in the next week, maybe this week, we're gonna pull out all of the squash because we really overplanted. We didn't give them enough room, and they just kind of went crazy. And so I think whatever we're gonna get, we've gotten by now. Most of it is like done curing on the vine at this point. So we're gonna go ahead and just pull all of that out because I actually wanna plant my onions and garlic back there, which I'll show you in a second. But these beds right here, I still have some peppers growing. My okra is doing okay. I've never grown okra before, and I felt like everybody said it grows so rapidly, and mine has not really done that, but is what it is. And then we have this eggplant has been like the star of the show. We've gotten so much eggplant off of that one plant. And then I have some of my oregano in here, and this bed needs to be heavily weeded. The weeds are kind of taking over the oregano. So I want to get that done here in the next week or so too, as well as weeding the asparagus jungle. That needs to happen like sooner than later, but I digress. So this bed is at its end too. We're probably about ready to pull these out. These are my bunching onions down here. They still look really good, but you know, you just pull like 1 or 2 at a time. So we need to just pull those and use them in recipes. My carrots are all ready to be pulled. We've been pulling those as we need them, but they're about ready to just pull them all together. And then these cut flowers have been beautiful, but they're time to go too. So soon this bed will just be cleared out, and that'll be ready for probably just letting it rest through the winter. I don't think I'm gonna plant here. I'm trying to be more manageable. We're about to be moving in the next like 3 or 4 months. I don't wanna have a fall garden that's just out of control with like so much to, you know, fall crops don't, in my experience, they don't, they're not as easy to preserve. It's not like tomatoes and, you know, peppers and stuff that you can just easily pickle and preserve. It's like takes more thought and consideration for me. So I'm trying not to put myself in a situation that I can't keep up with. But back here, we've got these rows, or we did. What we're gonna do is pull everything out. At the end of September is when we'll dig the sweet potatoes. So we've got about another month for those, but we'll go ahead and pull the 2 rows of squash out. We'll lay more cardboard, we'll do more wood chips, and then we'll do more compost. And then, like I said, right here in this back area is where I'm actually gonna plant my garlic and onions. We know that next year we don't wanna do our squash the same way we did them this year. So I'm not worried about the garlic and onions being in the ground here, you know, into next spring and summer, because I don't wanna use this space like I did this year. So that's the plan. Guys, look at these. Do you see this? These are out of control. They're absolutely huge. And I have 4 of them at home right now on the counter. So that makes 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I'm gonna have 12 of these. So from what I've heard, they have like a orangey pink flesh on the inside. So what we'll do basically is skin them, chop that up like a butternut, and then my plan is to boil them, get them really soft, and then make a bunch of soup and actually can it. Because yes, these will store for up to 6 months, but I know myself, and if I put these just like this into my pantry, it's gonna be next fall and I'm going to still have these sitting in my pantry. So my goal is to take them while I'm thinking about it and create something that we can actually use. And from what people have told me, I have not eaten one as winter squash yet, but what people have told me is that Tramontino is like sweeter than a butternut, but it's got that like rich nutty flavor. So I'm very excited to try these. I think they'll make a great soup. Though rather intimidating, they are definitely a must grow in my garden because how fun. I mean, and they're definitely pest resistant. Like all of the pests that we dealt with the rest of our squash, they didn't harm this plant at all. So I don't know if like the vine borers and the squash bugs just had so much else to do that they left this alone or what, but I definitely recommend. Look at these handsome boys.
Can you say hi?
Isla is sitting in the car eating her breakfast, so the boys are helping me water while I finish up showing you the garden. So I'm back here again. This space is going to be used differently. You can kind of see like the winter squash is mostly dead, like all of this is dead, and then that is just frankly out of control. Just a little out of control. So we are gonna just clean this up and we're gonna try again next year. And sometimes, like, that's my philosophy with gardening. Like, it's not all gonna work every year. Sometimes you're gonna have a year where you're like, what was I thinking? Why did I plant my squash like this? And you're gonna just like take the amount you get and be happy with it. And honestly, we got so much squash that I don't know what I would do if all of the plants that I put, like all of the seeds I put in the ground, if they would have produced the amount of plants that they could have produced if I gave them enough space and like the right environment. I'm not sure what we would do with it all. Like, honestly, we would be wasting, or, you know, just trying to like find people. We're giving away squash as it is. Like, we would have to just like find more people to give it away to. So next year I do want to grow more, all of that being said, but I want to do it differently. So that's the plan. Now, speaking of varieties that are just determined to give you lots, these spaghetti squash. Okay, so we like spaghetti squash, but I grew so much spaghetti squash last year that we still have 2 from the 2020 garden in our pantry. Like, that's how many spaghetti squash we had. So this year I only put 1 spaghetti squash seed in the ground. I have already harvested 7 spaghetti squash from that 1 seed. And I swear, it like the most resilient bugger in this garden. Like, I am seeing, as everything else is dying back, I am seeing so much spaghetti squash. And like, we like it all right, but it is not our favorite. Like, I don't even know. It's like, of course, isn't that like Murphy's Law something? I don't know. Of course, the one that we don't like, I only put 1 seed in the ground, and that's gonna be the one that flourishes. Duh. While I'm over here, I'll show you my Rose of Sharon. I did not end up harvesting any of those flower pods to do anything with this year. I did research it and found that, like, yes, it related to the hibiscus and you can eat it. I just didn't have time to like figure out, like, you eat actually the petals. I just didn't have time to like research well enough and figure out exactly what I wanted to do or like how to preserve them. I wanted to do like some tea or like infusions, but honestly, this year we just had so much else on our plates that is a tree, and it will give me those next year, and that'll be fine. I am obsessed with these hydrangeas though. I cannot wait for this plant to get huge. I feel like now that we're getting to the end of August and so much of the garden is gone, that these garden tours are a lot shorter than they used to be. But there's still a lot to see. So let me know if there's anything you want to see specifically or want to hear about. Our peppers are still going crazy, and so are my pumpkin on a stick eggplants. Let me show them. Look at these eggplants. How cute are they? So like I said, those are called pumpkin on a stick. They are an eggplant variety. They're actually super thorny. But someone sent them to me and she used them as decor. So I'm not actually sure if you eat pumpkin on a stick. I need to do some Googling on that one, but they're beautiful, and they're a beautiful ornament in the garden. All of the rest of our peppers are looking so good. We're getting a ton. Like, this is the time of year where everything else in the garden is starting to die, but my peppers, they take off in August and September. It's like the time of the peppers, which works out really nicely. I mean, if everything went crazy in, you know, late June, July, August, I would be even more burnout than I am. So it works out for us that this is when this is crazy. And we're just now getting into the time where Kevin's gonna be doing all of his hot sauces, and we're gonna be pickling all the peppers. And we eat a ton of those, so it's great. So the potatoes, you guys know I got these in the ground super late. The weeds have taken over. They are just not looking very good, but it's about time to dig them up anyways. I'd say probably half of them actually came up. So we're gonna go ahead, and when we're pulling out the squash here in the next week, we'll also dig the potatoes and just see what we're working with, and then prepare this space and these mounds to be planted again. And we'll just kind of protect this, and I actually think this might be the beginning of our squash or melons next year, so we'll just let it rest for the winter. Here are those gardenias I put in. They look wonderful. We got all of that rain right after I put them in the ground, so they are very happy. Same with the other hibiscus plant. Or I'm sorry, that was not a hibiscus. This is a hydrangea. It's gonna be really pretty. How beautiful are these? This is definitely the year that I fell in love with the dahlia. I mean, how stunning. There's something so magical to me about the potager garden and the mixture of food and flowers and beauty and practicality and like, it just captivates me. I absolutely love it, and that is everything I wanted from this space. So even if this garden year didn't go exactly how I wanted it to go, and even if there are things that died or we didn't get fruit from or we just should have done differently, this space is everything that I needed it to be. It was beautiful, and I am so excited to see where we can take it next year. I love this space. These production tomatoes are starting to get a little sickly, but they're still producing so much fruit. Same with these tomatillos. It's really time for us to come in and try to harvest a lot of the tomatillos and see what we're working with. But the tomatoes are just still so healthy. Like, do you see all of this new growth and this fresh greenery? It's just ridiculous. I swear, it does not make any sense to me that the tomatoes that I neglected and literally, I mean, you guys remember that video? I did a video and said, like, these were my production tomatoes. I should have taken better care of them. Like, I feel like I'm not gonna get as much as I could have gotten. And like, they are still going. I don't know what we would have done with more off these plants. Like, we have so much. I have bruschetta, and I have crushed tomatoes, and I have tomato sauce, I have tomato soup, and I have tomato chutney. Like, I have so many different tomato products that we've put away that now we're gonna have to move from one house to the next. Like, we're gonna have enough tomato products for what we consume until next year, 100%. So guys, my pawpaw does not look good, but I did just scrape a little bit of the bark. I don't know if it'll focus for you. I scraped a little bit right there, and it is green. So it's not gonna focus. So maybe there's hope for you yet, little pawpaw. My figs, I didn't get any figs this year, but it's their first year in the ground, so we'll see. That little guy looks good, but the rest could look better. Okay, in case you didn't follow that rough transition, I am down here. The potager garden is right up that hill on top, and then this is our orchard down here. So I've got the fig trees on the side, my pawpaw just behind it. Then we have this established plum tree. We actually didn't even know it was a plum tree. So last year, we've owned the property since February of 2020. And last year, this tree flowered but didn't fruit at all. So we didn't know what it was. It was beautiful, but like had no idea. And then last fall, we planted 2 plum trees up here with the apple trees. You can kind of see the line. Our orchard goes in a line, and we have apples, plums, and pears in a row. And because we planted those plum trees, this tree finally had a pollinator. And so this year we got like 3 or 4 plums randomly, and then there were a ton that littered the ground. So it definitely developed fruit, but something got to them. I've been talking to a couple of people who also grow fruit trees here in East Tennessee, Zone 7A, and they've said that in February you have to spray all the trees with neem oil because that's when the bugs are really bad. So the neem oil is natural. It actually smells a lot like garlic, but basically it like just coats them, and it keeps a lot of those bugs from getting in and like infecting the flower buds, which would then infect the fruit. And then also copper, which is an organic fungicide. So we're gonna do both of those. We do have like some of our apples like don't look great. Fruit trees are hard, guys. Basically, yeah, like a case in point. Let me show you. Case in point, this is an apple tree. And he just does not look good. But I've heard of apple rust, which can happen when an apple tree is too close proximity to like some evergreen varieties, like I think cypress. So we're going to spray these with that copper, and that should help prevent that. So I'm not sure. It's like those ones don't look great, but then you go over here and we have this guy who's an apple tree, and he looks phenomenal. It's hard to say, but what we're gonna do is just try to spray everything this year. We're gonna spray with the neem oil, and we're gonna do everything with copper because it doesn't hurt. So it'll help with like peach tree leaf curl, which this peach tree has really bad. We might actually end up taking that peach tree out. He's really sick, and I don't want any of that sickness coming into any of the other trees. So we decided to give him another year. We did spray him. We pruned him heavily. So we're gonna see what happens next year. It hurts, it like hurts me to take down a 30-year-old peach tree. But honestly, we spent 2 years. Any fruit that it's had in the past 2 years has fallen and just been really sick, and it is just covered with leaf curl. So actually the leaf curl looks better this year than it did last year. But I don't know. It's like one of those things where we can't risk the rest of the orchard for one tree, even if it is an old tree. So friends, that is the garden, the potager garden, the orchard. There's so much that I'm excited to do next year. And as we continue to like round out this growing season, I'll make a video and I'll tell you exactly what our vision is for next year. And one thing that I think is so cool about gardening is that your vision can change every year, right? Like when I was standing here, almost this time last year was when I made my first ever YouTube video, and I did a video on how to plant garlic. It was the second week, the end of the second week in September, and all we had were 2 beds right up here. And I remember standing here and envisioning this space and envisioning it beyond just this year, right? Envisioning what it would look like 5 years from now. And like that vision has evolved as we have gotten into this growing season, and as we built this beautiful garden behind me, we have learned so much about what we want, what we don't want, how we want this place to serve ourselves and others. And I'm really excited for that. So, and I hope that every year I kind of round out the growing season with a renewed vision of where I want this space to be. And I hope that you do too. And that even if you're looking at a small amount of space and you just have a couple of containers on your patio, like I usually say, like dream about what else that could be. Like how can you use a trellis to climb up your patio? Like how can you use the elements that you have in that space to give you even more? Friends, thank you for joining me today in the garden. You always have a space here. Until next time.